The Breakfast Rush, brought to you courtesy of the Willow Tin Group, at the forefront of innovation, and one of the leading competitors in the South African FMCG market.
South Africa will file its substantive charge of genocide against Israel to the International Court of Justice today. A memorial is part of the written pleadings before the ICJ, and according to Article 49(1) of the rules of the court, it shall contain a statement of the relevant facts, a statement of law, and the submissions of the applicant. International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola, in a recent interview, said South Africa's memorial contains more evidence in forensic detail to show that this is not just a plausible case of genocide, but indeed it is genocide. Joining us this morning is political analyst and anti-war activist Dr. Lubna Nadvi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu, Dr. Lubna.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Thank you for being here. South Africa is expected to file a genocide memorial with the ICJ today. How do you think this might shape international relations?
Well, I think that the world is aware of South Africa's stance on Palestine and its position on the state of Israel. So in terms of shaping international relations, it's been, many months since the government of South Africa actually filed its original papers at the ICJ against Israel. And I think the world actually, commended South Africa for having taken the stance, because no one had done it before in terms of holding Israel accountable. So I think that it's enhanced South Africa's position in the international relations stage as a moral sort of champion, as an upholder of justice. And that is how I think it will influence international relations. It will only increase South Africa's sort of esteem and position as a country that seeks justice.
Absolutely. South Africa's core argument has been to prove that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Do you think that the additional submissions will add any weight to its current case before the ICJ?
Oh, most definitely. This dossier would obviously have, evidence. It would have images and, factual information of dates, times, places, visuals, and so on, that documents the actual carrying out of genocide. So over and above whatever had been submitted in December last year, and of course then the oral hearings were in January of this year, this new dossier would contain far more very sort of powerful information to provide the evidence that is required for the ICJ to be able to see and, obviously observe all of the acts of genocide that have been unfolding. So it will only serve to strengthen the case of South Africa.
So it's been said that the ICJ may take years in providing a ruling on this matter. Will the ruling still hold significance at a later time, as Palestinian lives are lost every day?
So the challenge is that, the international legal system is slow on many fronts. Apparently, Israel would have until July next year to respond to, the case or the charges that it would be made against it in terms of today's submission. And that's a very long time to wait in regarding the sort of the lives of Palestinians that are at stake. The ICJ should have actually made a ruling of insisting on an immediate ceasefire in January this year, which it didn't go far enough to do. So over 42,000 lives have now been lost, and many more injured and so on. So at the end of the day, the cycle of the way the international legal system works is really slow, and it's unfortunate, but that's how it works. So we don't know how long it will take for the final then kind of response from the ICJ, but certainly in terms of the response time that Israel would have to respond to the charges against it, it has several months in order to do so. So these things are going to take some time, and that's how the international legal system works.
Dr. Nadvi, as a final question for this morning, with so many reports of humanitarian crisis in Gaza, including food and water shortages, how do you think this case affects the public perception of international laws and institutions?
Well, I think everyone has said that, international law and the international system has failed the Palestinians. In fact, for more than 76 years. The Palestinians were supposed to have been able to have the state. In fact, the land that was stolen from them should never have been taken away from them in the first place. So a great deal of injustice has been done to the people of Palestine, and every effort that has been made to try and bring the perpetrators, which is the apartheid state of Israel, to book and to account, has not, been successful in terms of actually holding them accountable. They can just simply drop bombs from the sky on innocent civilians. So the international world's perception, the global civil society perception, is that the United Nations, the United Nations Security Council, and all of the structures of international relations that are meant to protect innocence, the agency that's supposed to protect children, the agency that's supposed to protect refugees, has failed the civilians, the Palestinians. And so I think that we can all safely say that the international system does not work, whether it's international law or the humanitarian components that are meant to protect innocents and civilians. So I think that would be a fair assessment that the international system, the legal system, has failed the Palestinians really badly.
Political analyst and anti-war activist Dr. LUBNA NADVI talking to us about South Africa's additional submissions to the ICJ. Thank you. Jazakallah for your time.
Jazakallah very much for having me.
Assalamu
Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Well, TBR, it is 20 minutes exactly now after 7. Always very, very informative.